Episode 7 of The Spencer Sisters starts with Lindsay on a phone call while preparing herself for work. Shortly, Lucas joins her, and they all seem elated. She asks Lucas to choose the napkins for their wedding, with Lindsay saying that planning things together makes her feel delighted. As she leaves the house, she finds a death threat letter in the mailbox. In the meantime, Victoria is happy after receiving a bouquet from Billy. She also notices Darby is moody because their relationship with Des is not going as expected. But Darby dismisses Victoria's sentiments, saying she hasn't taken her morning coffee. Darby gets a call from Lucas to help them investigate the death threat. The Spencers arrive at Lucas's house, a spectacular home. Zane also joins them, but like Victoria, he wonders if Darby will have a lucid judgment when dealing with this case. Lindsay shows them the photos from a stranger and a death threat note she found in the mailbox. Lindsay is dismissive, but Lucas is concerned about all this. Apparently, Lindsay is working on a lawsuit between mine workers and Onyx Point, where she represents Onyx Point. Meanwhile, the Spencers interrogate Ian, often called Lindsay's work husband. He says Edgar Moore, the lead plaintiff, claims to have developed respiratory issues from the mining activities. The workers claim that the company is delaying the case while Lindsay buys designer bags from the legal fees she collects from Oxypoint Corporation. They question Moore about his protests, and he says he believes in nonviolent protests. He also tells Victoria and Darby that he may question Lindsay's choice of action, but he can never threaten her. Shortly after, they meet Onyx Point CEO Bruce Reddix. Elsewhere, Lindsay calls Darby back to the house because she feels Lucas is overreacting. He wants her to choose a weapon for protection. Amidst their conversation, someone throws a stone attached to a doll inside their house with a note asking Lindsay to drop the case or lose her head. And since their home is no longer a haven, the Spencers decide to host them until all is resolved. Victoria has an evening date with Billy and wants to dig deeper into this case. So, she makes a reservation in a hotel where Bruce will have dinner. Billy is a sharp, smart-minded person and improvises a plan to talk to Mr. Reddix, who reveals that their lawyer is getting threats. Could he be using the bad press to delay the case further? At the Spencers, Lucas and Darby are having fun moments playing games. They remember their good old days, which creates some tension between them. As Darby wakes up, she finds out Billy spent the night at their home. Victoria reveals that they met Bruce, and he doesn't seem much concerned about escalating death threats. This angers Lindsay, who also claims that Lucas is not on his side regarding this case. The scene shifts to Victoria asking Darby to talk to Reddix to enable them to test their theory that the CEO delayed the case. But they discover that the CEO isn't behind the delay. They need to hack another plan, and Victoria will distract Lindsay while Darby looks more into those pictures. In one of the photos, Darby realizes it was taken from a neighbor's porch. The lady claims that there was a man taking photos and ran away, leaving behind a camera lens. They trail the said guy, and he tells them he was instructed to take Lindsay's photo, save them in a USB, and deliver them in a park. In the meantime, Lucas and Lindsay are getting along again after solving their disagreements. Darby asks them if the bench at St. Lawrence Park means anything to them. Shortly, Des arrives at Darby's home, claiming he was concerned when she didn't respond. Victoria requests him to stay over for dinner, which he agrees. Des reveals that he had a crush on Darby in high school and is glad to have met her again. However, he says he has to drive back to the vineyard. Lindsay receives a call from Kyle, dismissing her from the firm. Sadly, she accepts the decision, but Darby urges her to fight for what she has worked so hard for. At this moment, Lindsay recalls Ian overheard Kyle saying he would kick Lindsay off the case for his nephew. Through their intuitive investigation skills, the Spencer sisters realized that Ian had printed the photos. He also planted the USB under the bench to frame Kyle. When pressed harder, Ian admits that he wanted this case, so he had to act quickly. Kyle calls the police, and Ian gets apprehended. Lindsay is back, and the case is solved. The miners will get compensated, and Onyx Point agrees to set a safe working environment. The Spencer sisters are happy to win another case. Darby also confesses that she still has feelings for Lucas but has to accept that fate because he's soon getting married to Lindsay. She goes for a dinner date with Des, and they start getting to know each other better. The episode review. Phew, talk about awkward X moments. The tension in this episode was tangible. It is clear that Darby and Lucas still love each other. Lucas tensed up the minute Des showed up. Even with Lindsay sitting next to him, Lucas couldn't do a better job or at least try to act unperturbed. On the other hand, Lindsay and Des did their best to ignore the glaring elephant in the room. In the final scene, Darby admits she still has feelings for Lucas, but we understand why she can't confess them to him. Our girl is no homewrecker, but watching these two circle around each other is tiring. Thankfully, they wrapped up the case, and everyone can return to their house.